Hey guys, we wanted to take a minute and introduce our spiritual challenge session speakers for Tuesday. Usually we have youth ministers and preachers that come in and talk to you. This year is going to be a little different. Our theme is storyteller. And what we decided was everybody has a story. And we wanted to share with you how God can use stories other than just preachers and youth ministers. Not disrespecting them, but saying to you, if you decide to be a firefighter or a nurse or a teacher, God can still use your life. And so we're using some people that have some unique stories. Let me tell you about them real quick. First of all, there's Dennis Washington. Dennis has been a part of Exposure Youth Camp for years, but Dennis is a professional meteorologist. He worked with television stations down in the Birmingham area, and now he works with Alabama Power, and he'll talk about how God has used his life in that role to let him be a voice for him. We'll also mention Gary Hicks. He's speaking also in that on Tuesday. Gary is the director of Child Haven Children's Home in Coleman, Alabama. He's in a unique position. He has preached some, but his primary role is as an administrator. What if you end up as an administrator? How could God use your life in that role? Our third speaker we'll mention is Marcus Elliott. Marcus is a youth minister down in Niceville, Florida. Marcus had all sorts of challenges that would have hampered him for living for God, but he rose above them in a difficult childhood to do great things for God. He'll talk about how God can do that in your life and how God's done that in his life. The fourth guy we'll mention is Matt Chode. Matt is at the East Huntsville congregation, and Matt is he works for that church, but he also is a firefighter. He'll talk about how God's used that role in his life to tell his story through that. We'll also have Larry Washington speak. Larry is a great entrepreneur. He is a marketer in the Atlanta area. What if you end up in the field of marketing or in some sort of advertising? Could God still use your story to tell his story? And Larry will talk about how God has done that in his life. The sixth speaker I'll mention is Kirk Brothers. Kirk is a college president. What if you decided to be a teacher? He's a teacher by profession, and now is a college president. What if you decided to be in college administration? Could God still use your story? He can, and Kirk will talk about how God's used him. Gina Rose will be speaking to our ladies during those two sessions. And Gina is just an awesome individual who lives her life big for God, and you'll be excited to hear Gina's wonderful story. Our eighth speaker that we'll mention is Mike Williams. Mike is presently president of Faulkner University, and in a few months he'll move to Searcy, Arkansas, who will become president of Harding University. And Mike will talk about how God has used his life as a person that is in professional administration. He's been in that role for years and years. It should be an interesting session. Our ninth group of speakers are Ben and Travis. Everybody knows Ben and Travis. Most people don't know that Travis is a teacher by profession. Ben is also a counselor by profession. How could God use those lives to tell his story? And then we've got something unique this year. For all of our adults, we want you in a session. We don't want you wandering the hallways during these spiritual challenge sessions. We want you to be somewhere. And so we brought in a really unique guy for Tuesday, and that is Chad Landman. He'll be talking about some digital parenting things, some things that youth ministers and parents and grandparents can use in helping their children online. We're excited about these spiritual challenge sessions where God will tell his story through some great storytellers. Pick one, pick two, and enjoy those two sessions.